Hello friends, welcome back to my channel. I am filming a video today that has been so highly requested, something that I have been pretty much thinking about non-stop since I found out that I was pregnant with baby number 2. Every single time that I put out a questionnaire on Instagram, I get so many questions asking me what I plan on doing differently with baby number 2. So I have compiled a list. I am in my second trimester. Little bump update for all of you. I just hit 20 weeks. I just had my anatomy scan and everything went really well. Here is the bump update. I feel like my bump is so much larger. It is like so much more bumping than where I was with Landon at this point, but I think that's just because your body like already knows what it is doing. I talked to my midwife about it and she was like, so many second-time moms have that same exact concern. It's just that your body will show so much faster because it already knows what it is doing. So here's the little bump update. I have compiled a little list of things that I plan on doing differently with baby number 2. All in all, I am very happy with parenthood and how we have been raising Landon and how parenthood has gone since having Landon. And I don't plan on doing like a ton of things differently. I really would like to follow a lot of the same practices that we did with Landon because again, I think all in all, Adam and I are doing a really great job and we're just really proud of ourselves as parents, but there are definitely some things that we plan on doing a little differently with baby number 2. Parenthood is definitely a roller coaster ride. There are going to be a lot of ups and a lot of downs, and I'm going to give you my list, and I'm not telling you that these are things that are like set in stone and they're like in concrete. Of course, we're going to be flexible. These are the things that we're going to try to do differently, but we're absolutely taking it day by day. So after this video, if I had not mentioned something that you think is like really important, I would love for you guys to put it in the comments below. I'm always trying to grow as a parent and trying to like learn from all of you guys, try to make this like a motherhood, parenthood community. These are things that I personally plan on doing differently, but if there's anything that you did completely different from baby number 1 to baby number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, let me know in the comments below. And of course, if you have any other questions or concerns after watching this video, also ask them in the comments below and I'll try to get back to you as soon as possible. Now, without further ado, let's get on into the list. Before we get on into the list, I did want to take a moment to tell you guys that I have partnered up with FabFitFun for this portion of today's video to share with you one of the spoilers in their FabFitFun fall box for 2021. I am so excited to share this little spoiler with you. This is an item that is probably my favorite item I have ever received in any subscription box in my entire life, and that is saying a lot because I have been doing subscription services for like 6 years now. This one takes the cake. It is so amazing. Let me just share with you the item. It is this absolutely stunning Dutch oven. I have wanted a Dutch oven for so long. They are very pricey, so when I saw this as a spoiler, it was a no-brainer, match made in heaven. I obviously had to customize for it because again, I wanted one for so long. They're just very pricey, so to be able to get it at such a discounted price inside of the FabFitFun box, chef's kiss. I plan on doing so much with this Dutch oven come the fall. I feel like a lot of people associate the fall with pumpkin spice and apple cider, and although I do subscribe to that narrative, what a lot of people tend to forget is fall is the start of soup season, and I just can't wait to make all of the soups in this little Dutch oven. Again, you guys have to see the pattern on here. This is a beautiful Dutch oven, something that I customized for in the FabFitFun fall box for 2021. This is an item that I will be using so much, but it's also an item that is very versatile. You can use it like so many different ways, savory items, sweet items, and it is also an item that I plan on just keeping on my stove year round because it is just so aesthetically pleasing. It's kind of like a statement piece for my kitchen. So again, I wanted to share this little spoiler with you. I will be doing a full-blown review and reveal of the entire box in a couple of weeks, but this is just a little spoiler to kind of get you guys excited about the FabFitFun fall box for 2021. If you guys are interested in securing your own box and getting $10 off of your first box, you can use the code ALLIECAKES. I will put it right here to save $10 off of your very first box at FabFitFun.com. I feel like I just got so out of breath filming that intro. I honestly don't know how I'm going to film this entire video talking for extended periods of time without feeling like I am just going to pass out. So if I am constantly stopping mid-sentence to take deep breaths, that is why. Let's now move on into the list. This list is going to go in no particular order. I'm just going to read from top to bottom on what I wrote in my notes and what I have been writing and adding to in my notes. But the first thing is something that I do feel very, very passionately. This is not going to go in any particular order, but if I had to rank this one, I would probably rank it as one of my top 3 things that I plan on doing differently with baby number 2. So this one has to do with the hospital and hospital visitors. I will tell you, since I found out that I was pregnant with baby number 2, I've been reading like a lot of blog posts and watching a lot of YouTube videos on things I plan on doing differently with baby number 2. And shockingly, this one showed up on so many people's lists. And now that I already went through the labor process and the hospital process, I completely understand why. So the very first thing that I plan on doing differently with baby number 2 actually might benefit me because of COVID, which sounds so weird to say that COVID is like benefiting me with anything. But the thing that I plan on doing differently is having very minimal visitors at the hospital. I honestly only want parents coming to visit us at the hospital. I don't know how much it's going to change COVID-wise by December 5th, but my goal is to very politely and very respectfully ask that we only have parents come to visit us at the hospital. The reason for that is, oh my word, the whole entire labor process and then figuring out life after having a baby is just so overwhelming. You're pretty much only in the hospital for like 2-3 days if you have a healthier birth. I actually had a overall very good labor, and then I hemorrhaged so bad. So my whole entire hospital stay is kind of a blur. I was just not in a mental, physical, or emotional state to have that many visitors. And just a little like side backstory about Adam and I. We come from very, very family-oriented families. My family is so close-knit. Adam's family is so tight, close-knit, and there's just a lot of us as a whole. Adam's family in general, Adam, myself, and Landon are 3 out of 20 in just his immediate family, with parents, siblings, nieces, and nephews, and pretty much every single one of them came to visit us. On my side, it's my parents, my sister, and her wife, Cecilia. So there's 4 on my side. However, we come from a very family-oriented family. So between like grandparents and aunts and uncles and cousins, everybody came to visit us, and I am so grateful for that. Family aside, we have very close family friends, and then we also have really close friends as well. And I would say not a minute went by without somebody coming to visit us. I remember at one point getting a phone call from the receptionist saying, there's somebody here to visit you, but you have too many people in the room now, so we can't send them up until somebody leaves. That happened multiple times, and again, I am so grateful for that experience, that so many people wanted to meet our baby and see how Adam and I were doing. It was just very, very overwhelming. I remember one of our friends, or maybe our family members, it is all a blur, bought us the stock dinner. I don't know if you guys have that in hospitals where you guys deliver, excuse me, but where I delivered, they do this thing called the stock dinner, and it is for the mom and the dad, and this is really, really delicious, like chef quality meal, and they bring it to you on a nice table. It's like candlelit. They bring you wine if you want wine. You get like appetizers, entrees, desserts. We had people in the room for that, and I am not the type of person to be like, can you please leave right now? Like, this is our time. Like, we just allowed people to come in. And again, I was so grateful for it, but it was just so overwhelming. I really didn't even have a chance to catch my breath. I just really am hoping that this time around we can just, again, very respectfully and very politely ask that only parents come to visit us. We're just never going to get that time again. That is just going to be me, Adam, and the baby. We have a toddler at home, and right when we come back from the hospital, I know like our lives are going to forever be changed. We just won't ever have that time where it is just the three of us, I think, pretty much ever, which is completely fine, but I want to really cherish those moments in the hospital. If anything, I know my son cannot come. Ideally, he would be like the #1 person that I would like to come to the hospital, but I'm almost positive that toddlers cannot come to the hospital to go visit, especially now in the climate of where we are in the world right now. So, to sum that all up, the #1 thing on this list that I also feel is like between the #1, 2, or 3 top things that I want to do differently is just to minimize the amount of visitors that we have at the hospital. I really just want to have that time to catch our breaths, to just enjoy it, to live in the moment. Again, so grateful that all those people came to see us and wanted to see us. But we just had a baby, and I can't even tell you how many times like I would finally get to hold Landon, and then somebody else would come in the room and they want to see the baby, and I'm all for that. Like, I'm just so happy with that. But I also like just wanted to hold my baby as well for like an extended period of time without constantly handing the baby off. So if you're a family or friend watching this, please don't think like I'm being like so like, oh my gosh, she's so ungrateful. That's not how it is at all. I just like mentally, physically, emotionally, like spiritually, I just want to soak it all in as a family, and then there'll be plenty of time to be able to have people come to visit the baby and the family once we're home from the hospital. #2, I am putting #2 on the list, very high on the list, per my husband's request. This is something that he feels very, very passionately about, and it is to pack a partner's survival bag for the hospital. Now, we all know that we pack our hospital bags for the hospital. However, we quickly realized that we did not pack enough things for my husband. Now, yes, I am the one who just went through the stress of having a baby, going through labor, exhausted, trying to learn how to nurse, the whole 9 yards. But what we tend to forget sometimes, that the partner, whether it's your husband or your wife, is also going through an insane amount of stress at that exact same time. However tired you are, they might not be as tired, but they might be like pretty close to being equally as tired as you. And my husband realized that, again, I don't know about the hospitals that you guys have delivered in, or if you plan on delivering somewhere. Our hospital was amazing. We had the best experience. We loved it so much. But we quickly found out that they definitely honor the mother a lot more than they honor the father or the partner. I remember one day my husband had like a splitting headache. I was in labor for a really long time. I pushed for 3 hours. I was in labor for like 13 hours. We went in at like 11 o'clock at night. It was like all night we didn't sleep. The day before we didn't sleep. We were just exhausted. He had a splitting headache and he asked for Tylenol, and they couldn't even give him Tylenol because he wasn't the patient, which he understood, but he was like, dude, I'm just asking for Tylenol. Like, I have a crazy headache. I don't want to have to leave, go to the pharmacy, come back. I just want Tylenol. On top of that, like, I had the bed, which I wouldn't say is like super comfortable. He slept for like two and a half days on a little cot, and he was just so sore. We ended up having our brother-in-law come to visit, and he brought like this little sleeping bag, this like really nice sleeping bag that he got from REI. It is one of those ones that you can like open up, you use it for like camping. It's super comfortable, and he slept so much better after that. So he's very passionate about bringing like a partner's survival bag as well, on top of whatever you are bringing for the mama to be. Bring something for the partner, whether it is food. Like, I remember him just being starving. He had a headache, he was exhausted, he was sore. He was like, we did not think this through. Like, we thought about you. And I brought this bag full of stuff that I probably used 25% of the things inside of the bag, and we really didn't think too much about Adam at all. Like, poor Adam. So I would definitely consider, if you are packing your hospital bag, to definitely put the mother in the forefront, but don't forget about the father or the partner as well, because they're going through just as much as you are if they are like super involved, and they're gonna want a little bit of spoil time, pamper me time as well after the baby is born. I know I said I was not going to go in any particular order, nor was I going to rank these from highest importance to least importance. However, this next thing that I'm going to talk about is something that I'm going to be very cognizant about. It has to do with putting less pressure on myself when it comes to nursing. I feel like I just got very aggressive right now, but that is how I feel in my heart when it comes to nursing. The next thing that I'm definitely going to do differently this time around with baby number 2 is to put less pressure on myself when it comes to nursing. One more time for the people in the back. I am going to put less pressure on myself when it comes to breastfeeding our baby. Now, I am extremely passionate about this, as if you could not tell. If you guys have followed along on my breastfeeding nursing journey with Landon, you would know that I just had a terrible experience. Like, my mental was the worst I think that it has ever been pretty much in my entire life through the whole entire nursing process. And I can only speak for myself. This is my personal experience. I know some people that have these beautiful nursing journeys. It just wasn't that way for me at all. Landon did latch right on since birth, but I think that is the only thing that was working in our favor when it came to nursing. Nursing was the hardest thing that I have ever done in my entire life, and in retrospect, I nursed him for 10 months. I was so stubborn. My goal was to nurse him for an entire year, and because I was so stubborn, I just kept extending it and extending it and extending it. But again, in retrospect, I probably should have stopped at 10 days. I was formula fed my entire life, and I think that I turned out pretty fine. And I will also tell you that when we decided to stop nursing and move on to fully doing formula or frozen breast milk that I had stashed up, I bonded with Landon just as much as I did when I was nursing, if not more, because my mental was so much clearer. I will tell you, pretty much within hours after deciding to stop nursing, my mental clarity was like a full-blown rainbow. I wish I was like an awesome YouTuber who knew how to like put graphics in, because right here I just want to like put a rainbow in here, because the mental clarity that I received when I decided to stop nursing was exceptional. It was beautiful. Like, I feel like SpongeBob. So my goal is to put a lot less pressure on myself when it comes to nursing. I always tell the story. I mentioned it a bunch of times on my YouTube channel and on Instagram, but I'm going to say it one more time because I want it to live in this video. I was going through a really ugly time when Landon was like 3, 4, maybe 5 months old, and I went to the pediatrician, and they make you fill out like those surveys talking about like your mental health as a mom. And I was very honest. Like, I answered it very honestly, saying that like I was struggling really bad with postpartum depression, postpartum anxiety, the whole 9 yards. It was just really tough for me. And the pediatrician actually reached out to me, which I thought was really sweet. About a day later, he called, and he was just concerned about that survey that I took in that little questionnaire, and we were talking about it, and I just mentioned about the nursing situation and how tough it is for me and how it just took such a toll on my life, and I just felt like it was going to be so different. It was just really hard for me. And he is a pediatrician. I told him this whole story, and he gave me the story that has just lived in my mind ever since. And he was like, you know, I have 2 daughters, and one of them we breastfed for 3 years. The other one we formula fed from birth, and they're both doctors right now. They got their doctorates, and they're both practicing doctors. They're doing fine. It does not matter like how you feed your child, as long as you are feeding your child. And I just remember crying after hearing him say that, because it just kind of like sparked something in me. It took me a couple more months to actually stop, but I just remember being like, hey, fed is best. Like, breast is great, but fed is best. Breast is not best. It's great, but it is not best. So for me, it is more important for me to have mental clarity and be in a good mindset. I have to be the best mother that I possibly can be, and I can't be that best mother that I can be if I'm in such a deep, dark place. And breastfeeding for me just really put me in a deep, dark place. I could go on and on about this for hours. I could do like a full-blown podcast on this. I don't even have a podcast, but you guys get what I am saying. But I'll just leave it with breastfeeding for me the first time around put me in a really deep, dark place, and it's not worth it for me, to be honest with you. So the goal is to try to breastfeed this next time around with baby number 2. If it works out, awesome, we'll nurse our kid. If it doesn't work out, great, we'll do formula feeding, or maybe we'll do a little bit of a half-seas if we are supplementing. The most important thing is that my mental is clear so that I can be the best version of myself for my kids, for my husband, for myself. I feel like that last one just got me all fired up. I just have so many emotions when it comes to breastfeeding, when it comes to nursing. If you breastfed your child for any extended period of time, whether it was 1 hour, 3 years, 3+ years, give it up. You're the real MVP. You're a rock star. If you formula fed your child since birth, give it up. You're the real MVP. You are a rock star. We are just rock star moms. That's just all I have to say. If you are feeding your child and you're putting your child's nutrition first, you are the real MVP. Let's move on now to the next thing that I want to talk about. I know I feel like a broken record and I sound quite robotic right now, but this next thing that I'm going to talk about is another thing that I feel very, very passionately about, and it has to do with sleep training. Woo, another 2 words that have given me so much anxiety in the past. Let's talk about sleep training. We actually did sleep train Landon, and it was one of the best things that we have ever done in our entire lives, but we didn't sleep train him until he was about, I want to say 8, 9, or maybe even 10 months old. The goal this time, what I plan on doing differently with baby number 2, is to sleep train early on. I don't remember exactly the time frame that you could or should start, but I want to say we're going to do it around 4 months, like right after they finish that 4-month sleep regression, which also, if you can make it through the 4-month sleep regression, the rest, I mean, they suck. They still suck really bad, but nothing is like that 4-month sleep regression. So we're hoping after the 4-month sleep regression, we will start to sleep train. There are so many different methods of sleep training. You can literally pay to take classes with like taking care of babies. There are so many different like sleep consultants out there. There are so many different methods for sleep training. To each his own. I always say to do whatever works best for you and your family. For us, we did the Ferber method. There are like super gentle, no tears ones, all the way up to ones where you pretty much just put your child into the bed or the crib at night, you shut the door and don't go back in until the next day. You just kind of have to feel it out and see what works best for you. Per our pediatrician's request, we did the Ferber method. If you're unfamiliar, there's like a million articles on the internet that you can research. Basically, you put the child to sleep in their crib, drowsy, semi-awake, but kind of like almost to the point of sleeping, and you let them work it out. So you go in on the first day, it's like a whole entire time interval situation, and it's all online if you guys want to look it up. But day 1, you might put them in, they're gonna probably start crying, and you go in after 5 minutes, rub their back, say, it's okay, mommy and daddy are right next door, but it's time to go to sleep, and then you leave. You never take the baby out of the crib. They do cry a little bit, so if you're not into the cry it out method, that one might not work for you. After 5 minutes, you go in 7 minutes later, do the same thing, rub the back, then you go back in 10 minutes later, 15 minutes later, 20 minutes later, half hour later. I'm making those times up because I don't remember off the top of my head, but again, it's all on the internet, and you just do that until the baby falls asleep. And typically within like 3 to 5 days, they have learned how to work it out and soothe themselves and put themselves to sleep. And let me tell you, after a week, Landon slept like a champ. The only reason why we waited so long is because sleep training is flipping hard. It is hard, it is hard, it is hard, It is stressful, it is hard, and for me, I had an extended maternity leave. I took 10 months off from work, from teaching, so I just kept pushing it off and pushing it off and pushing it off. We would start it at 4 months. It got really tough for me. I decided, no, we'll do it next month. No, we'll do it the month after. No, I still have so much time off. And then it came to the point that it was crunch time. I was going back to work. We still weren't really sleeping that well because he was getting up so many times in the middle of the night. So we just kind of said, you know what? Gotta bite the bullet, we gotta do it. We did it for like 5 days, and he's been an incredible sleeper ever since. Of course, you're going to have like your setbacks between sleep regressions and sicknesses and teething and, you know, all of those things. But we noticed that even throughout all of that, after sleep training him, we were able to just follow that method again and implement those strategies again. And he just went right back into his regular sleeping patterns, the good sleeping patterns. So this time, camera died. Like I was saying, this time around we kind of understand the process a little bit more, having gone through it with Landon. So we definitely plan on sleep training this baby much earlier on than we did with Landon, and we're hoping to just really stick with our plan the first time that we try it, because I just think that sleep is so important, not only for baby but for all parties in the house. I will tell you that at this point right now, Landon is such a good sleeper, and it just gives Adam and I a real chance to like catch our breath at the end of the day. We will put Landon down right around 8 o'clock, and he sleeps pretty much straight through until about 6:30, 7 o'clock, sometimes even 7:30. So he's getting a solid 10 to 11 hours of uninterrupted sleep. And if he ever does wake up in the middle of the night, he kind of goes like, and then like within 2-3 minutes, he lets himself work it out and he goes back to sleep. And it's just so important because it gives Adam and I a chance to just have a marriage. We can eat together, we can like play games together, we'll watch movies together, we'll just talk with each other uninterrupted. And it's so important. Sometimes Adam goes into the room, does his own thing, gives me time to do my own thing. It just works for us. So I'm hoping that we can sleep train this baby earlier on and just get some, knock on wood, really good sleep patterns from this baby as well, because I know having 2 babies under the age of 3 each, it's going to be overwhelming, it's going to be exhausting, it's going to be stressful. So I'm hoping to have that time to just have like some self-care time, not only for myself but also for our marriage. Next thing that I plan on doing differently with baby number 2 is to take people's advice with a grain of salt. It is incredible how much unwanted, unsolicited advice you are going to get from all parties, whether they are family members, whether they are friends, whether they are random people at the grocery store. You are going to get so much unwanted, unsolicited advice, and you can do one of 2 things. You can kind of really let it affect you, or you can kind of just take it with a grain of salt. My thought process for baby number 2 is just to say these couple of words: I'll consider that advice. That's it. I'm not even gonna say, oh, thank you for that advice, I'll think about it. It's just going to be, I'll consider that advice. I know a lot of you guys are probably thinking like, oh, if I was in your position, I would tell them off and tell them just to like leave their advice at home. For me, I know that I am somebody who definitely overthinks a lot, and I know that there's been plenty of times, even with family members, that I wanted to tell them just to shut the blank up and let me figure it out. I am the mother, I know best. But if I ever was to do that, I know at nighttime I would overanalyze it and I would overthink it, and it would just kind of like live in my brain, and that would make me feel so much worse. So this time around, I'm just gonna say, I'll consider that advice. And if it is considerable advice, awesome. If it is something that means absolutely nothing to me, in one ear, right out the other. I'm not gonna let it affect me. I'm not gonna stress out about people's thought process, because it has really honestly nothing to do with me and my family. They can think that all they want. At the end of the day, I'm the mother, Adam's the father, and we know what we are doing. We know what is best for our child, and are we going to mess up along the way? Abso-freaking-lutely, but it will be learning experiences for us. We don't need people telling us what we're doing wrong and how we can do things better. We will figure that out on our own. So just a couple of little words that will make me feel so much better. I'll consider that advice and move along. This next one is really, really, really important to me and very near and dear to my heart, especially as of recently. The next thing that I plan on doing differently with baby number 2 is to treat myself for like a week or 2 after having the baby, allow myself to just eat whatever I want, some comfort food. There are so many things that you can't eat when you are pregnant, and I definitely want to like indulge a little bit after I have the baby. But after I get that out of my system, I really want to make sure that I get myself back on track with eating healthy and being active. Now, I do understand you can't really be active until like, what is it, 6 weeks after you have the baby, and you go for that post-op appointment or post-labor appointment, whatever it is. I just really want, when I am able to start working out again and being active again, to make sure that I am working out and being active and eating healthier. I think one of the best things for my overall just existence was when I decided about 1.5 years ago to change my lifestyle and become a little healthier. If you guys have followed along on any of my weight gain / weight loss journey when I was pregnant with Landon and after when I had Landon, you would know that I gained 62 pounds when I was pregnant with Landon, and I am 5'2", so that is a lot of weight to gain. It is actually in the like extremely unhealthy range for where I am like body mass wise, and it took so long to come off. And I'm not saying that I want to be active and eat healthy just so I could like look great. Like, I mean, it does feel nice that I lost a lot of that weight, and I'm like really proud of myself. Mainly the reason why I'm being so active and eating healthier this time around, and hope to do that after I have this baby, is because it is just so good for your mind, body, and soul. I always think about Legally Blonde. I know I'm going to mess up the quote.
I just don't think Brooke could have done this. Exercise gives you endorphins. Endorphins make you happy. Happy people just don't shoot their husbands. They just don't.
So there's the clip for your viewing pleasure. I could not agree more. Elle Woods says it best. Exercise gives you endorphins, and endorphins make you happy. And I definitely want this time around to start being active and eating healthier, or just continuing to eat healthy, because I think I've been eating pretty healthy and being pretty active this time around. I just want that to continue, so my mental state, my emotional state, my physical state stays very happy. Next up, if you have heard this once, you have heard it a million times. The saying goes as follows: it takes a village. It certainly does take a village. I don't know what it is about first-time moms, or just me in general. This is again my personal experience. I don't know why we feel like we have to do it all on our own. I don't know why we feel shamed to get help. Again, my personal opinion, my personal experience. I was just too stubborn to take all of the help that was readily available to me when we had Landon. Like I mentioned at the beginning of this video, we have very large family-oriented families and great friend groups that would kind of drop everything to be there for you and support you and help you. And I just couldn't even accept the help that was given to me, because I felt like I had to do everything on my own. Perfect little scenario. My mom would come over all the time with my dad and offer to just like be with the baby while Adam and I would take a nap upstairs because we were exhausted. And I can tell you that so many of the times that my mom would come over to watch Landon, I couldn't even sleep upstairs no matter how tired I was, because I felt like I was being somewhat of a burden. Like if he would start crying, like I would feel bad that my mom was watching a crying baby, or if he was being fussy, or whatever it may have been, if he needed to eat, whatever it may have been, I never really just accepted the help. And to be honest with you, besides Adam and myself, my mom is the person that I trust Landon with the most. Sometimes I even trust him more with her than I do us, because she is just like a godsend, like an actual godsend. And I just would not readily accept all of that help. I wouldn't ask for the help. If it was offered for me, I would say, no, we're okay. This time around, I am taking all of the help. I am accepting all of it, because again, it really does take a village. Although in the end, if we had to do it all on our own, we absolutely could. But why when we have all of this help available for us? 2 more things left on my list. The last one is sort of generic, so I'm just going to save it for last because it is going to be a short, sweet, and to the point one. So I'll move on to this second to last one, which is to go off of the grid when I feel like the internet is a source of anxiety for me. Now, let me break this one down. I am very blessed to say that I, for the most part, don't really let social media or the internet really bother me in today's day and age. I feel like I do have my moments where I will mindlessly scroll through social media, sometimes a little bit longer than I should, but I don't ever really leave social media feeling like worse about myself than I did when I started to go on it. And again, I am very, very fortunate to be able to say that because I know that social media as a whole has really like tampered with so many people's mental state. So what I have to say has nothing to do with like scrolling mindlessly through Instagram or through social media. It has to do with not so much the comparison trap. I kind of felt like the internet was suffocating me when I was going through my really horrific breastfeeding journey. I would go onto the internet to look for like comfort in numbers, and I would read blog posts and watch videos of people who were going through the same things as me, or I would just kind of like Google search or WebMD or do all of these things that were on my mind. So for example, I know I've talked about breastfeeding a ton in this video, so let's talk about sleep training. When Landon was having like a really tough time sleeping, I would like Google search, will my child ever sleep again? Child waking up every hour at 6 months old, blah, blah, blah. And I would read all these blog posts, and although some of them were really helpful because I felt like power in numbers and I was like, oh, so many people are going through this as well, and it would kind of like comfort me. On the other hand, I would read these other ones where, oh, their childs were sleeping like 13 hours at night, and I would never compare Landon. It would never like land on Landon. Luckily, it would never be like, why won't my child sleep? Like, what is wrong with him? It would always kind of land on me. It would always be like, what am I doing wrong that Landon is not sleeping through the night? What am I doing wrong that Landon is not nursing correctly? What am I doing wrong that Landon is not walking yet at, I think he started walking at 13 months or 14 months, whatever. It was never like me putting the blame on Landon. It was always me reading these posts and feel like I was suffocating because it was all landing on me. So although a lot of them brought me joy and again, comfort in numbers, a lot of those media outlets and like those videos and those blog posts or forums would always leave me feeling kind of like worse. So I feel like this time around, when I am feeling kind of like down on the internet, just to shut the internet off. When I was pregnant, I meant when I had Landon, I was looking at those, it would never just be like one article. I would go from like one article and then I would have to read like 15 more articles, and I never felt super awesome after it. Sometimes I felt great, but a lot of the times it was like, man, what am I doing wrong? Like, why isn't this working for me? Why blah, blah, why that, why that? And you know what, we're doing a great job raising Landon. And again, parenthood is just such a roller coaster ride. You're going to have so many ups, you're going to have so many downs, and I don't really need the internet telling me or making me feel a certain way. So I definitely still plan on like looking at blog posts and looking at videos and watching videos and reading forums. But if it ever gets to that point where I'm like, oh man, like I'm starting to feel like bad about myself after reading them, my goal is just to shut the internet off, put it in the other room, kind of like put it in a drawer, literally open up a drawer and put it in there so I can't even touch it until I'm feeling better. And last but not least, like I said, this last one is short, sweet, and to the point. It is very, very generic. It is something that I feel like all moms, all dads, all parents go through, and it is simply to have less mom guilt. I'm going to pretty much just leave it at that. We all know what mom guilt is if we are a mother out there. We all know what like parent guilt is if we are a parent. So I think you guys already kind of know where I am going with this one. This is another thing that I could talk about for a very extended period of time, but I'm just going to leave it with baby number 2. My goal is to have a lot less, if not any, mom guilt. And that is it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope that you enjoyed. Again, after watching this video, if there's anything that you did completely different with baby number 2, please let me know in the comments below. I would love to read upon it. And I'm sure people watching this video would love to read upon that as well. Thank you guys so much again for all of your love and support. Since I told you guys that I was pregnant, you guys have always been so supportive this past like 8 years or 9 years, 7, 8, 9 years that I have been on YouTube. But I just really feel like when I told you guys that I was pregnant with baby number 2, you have just been so supportive and so happy and so encouraging, which just means the absolute world to me. I hope that you are having a beautiful day, a wonderful summer, and I look forward to talking to you all soon. Bye guys.